Hello everybody, welcome to Darkslayer TV. My name is, of course, Darkslayer, and today I have a very special game for you. This is a Master League game sent in to be analyzed, and I have to tell you, this was hard. This has got to be harder than I thought it would ever be to analyze something and figure out what went wrong, but I did it. At least I believe I have. Maybe you guys can correct me, but I think I did a good job. We're going to watch this game 2 times. The first time through, we're going to watch it from Vandy here. He is our Zerg player, the man that sent this replay in. And the second time, we're going to go through and we're really going to capture all those things that went wrong so Vandy can come back, see this build, and beat it. But first off, we're just going to watch this from Vandy's point of view. He's going to do some really basic Zerg things. He's going to take his natural at about the 45-second mark. Or more around the minute mark. There we go, about 55 seconds in, he's going to go ahead and take that natural. First, he's going to build a spawning pool and then the gas. He's not going to go for anything crazy aggressive. He just wants to get that macro game started, get these overlords sent out so he can get some information later on, and basically do all the things you expect Zerg to do in TVZ in the current meta. We're going to go ahead and go to ×4 here until something starts to happen. He's a Zerg and he's building stuff. Alright, so this Reaper shows up. It doesn't really do anything special. It does a little bit of damage. I don't believe it killed anything. No, it didn't kill any drones, but it did get one Zergling. Nothing major. It's not until about the, what is it? About the 5-minute mark that we're going to be seeing some crazy things go down that really make Vandy start to lose this game. He sends his Lings up here, he sees a couple Hellions, nothing special, brings them back, and thinks about taking his third base, keeps droning. Everything you expect out of a Zerg game. Gonna have this Spore down here in case of Liberators. And speaking of Liberators, now is about the time we're going to be seeing one in the main base. So this Liberator is going to take out this Queen and he's going to pull these drones. And he does have the Spore Crawler here just in case this happens and moves that into position. There are some pesky Hellions getting some things done up top. Nothing major. He holds that off quite easily. But right about that time, we're going to be seeing another Liberator make its way over to the third or the main. I don't remember. It's one of these. Oh God, please be the third. Don't let me be wrong. Here we go. Oh, nope, never mind. The main one does come back, and it gets a couple more drones here. And he does pull once again, preventing that mining. And here's the one now on the third base. So basically, these Liberators are tearing Vandy apart. They're getting several drone kills. We're actually up to 7 right now. And on top of that, which could be considered worse, ton of lost mining. Finally, the Spore finishes up, and he tries his best to deal with that. He has a few roaches up, and Vandy, being the good player that he is, knows that the Terran player has invested into these Liberators and is going to start making his way across the map here. He's going to start trying to push up this ramp to see what the Terran has, where his money has been spent. He makes his way up here, gets shot by a tank a few times, doesn't see too many Marines, but the tank fires too much, pulls back. He's going to go ahead and throw down an Evo chamber, a Baneling nest, and a Spire. Now, I want to point this out. I think this is very crucial, is when he builds this Baneling nest and Spire, I imagine his goal right now is to transition out of roaches, get something like a Spire and Lings so he can deal with the drops and the Liberators and everything else that the Terran is going to throw at him. But instead, for right now, he's going to keep building up his roach army. And we actually won't see much out of this Baneling nest or Spire. We're not going to see too many Banelings or Muta on the field. In fact, I don't know that he ever builds any. We're going to go ahead and speed things up one more time. He kills off that Marine. He's trying to build up, get to that 200 supply. He makes his way across the map a little bit, doesn't really see anything. He sends this Overseer in, just sees the natural, nothing special. And he's just doing his Zerg thing. He wants to get the units that he needs and go roll this Terran. That's his plan anyways, or that's the goal. He goes up here to check to see what's going on. He sees a stemmed Bioforce with siege tanks much larger than his Roach Force. decides he doesn't want to engage that, meets up with some reinforcements. The roach ball is getting a little bit bigger. However, now the Terran has decided they're going to move out. They're going to do a scan, run forward here. And while this is going on, we can look. There's a drop going on in the third base, and there's a drop going on in the main, all at the same time. And Vandy's going to do one last little thing here to try to defend. Unfortunately, most of the roaches are going to die right here. And with both drops not being able to be cleaned up, Vandy is going to GG out of the game. And he's not quite 100% sure what he wants to do here. Those Liberators were making him pull drones. They were killing drones. And then this huge army showed up, and it just mauled his army like it was nothing. It looked almost unwinnable. However, I have a theory. I think I understand what happened in this game. Vandy, I believe that in this game, what killed you was a lack of information. Those Liberators got in and did the job that they needed to do to put the Terran player in a position where he was so far ahead that he completely crushed your army, and it made it look really impossible. The important Overlord to watch from this game is going to be this second one right here. It's going to pop out and be rallied up to this position right here. So we're going to go ahead and go to ×4 here, and we're going to go to everyone's vision for a minute. Everything that happens in the early game is perfectly fine from both of our players. Our Terran player is going to be walling off. The Zerg player you have already seen does the very much Zerg thing where he takes a spawning pool gas and tries to expand and get his drone count higher. Everything in the beginning went swell. Even this Reaper didn't really get much damage done, but it did get the scouting info. Basically, this was a master level game. Everything up until the absurd lack of information that Vandy had. Here at about 3:05, we're going to see the starport go down. And if we look over here, we have the Overlord in position. Now, this is the hot spot right here. What you're going to see is at, what time do I have written down? At 3:40. At exactly 3:40. So in 2 game seconds, watch what happens. 1, 2. Or I was off by, what? A couple seconds. Boom. Liberator started. Now, this is a giant tell. Why? Well, because since we don't have a tech lab, then that means it's not going to be a Banshee. Since we don't have a reactor, there's a really good chance it's not going to be a medevac. So, at that 3:42 mark, or whenever it was this started, it was like, how long is it maybe? 2 seconds. So at 3:43 is when this Liberator begins, and there's no add-on on the starport. Now, the Terran made this decision so he could get the Liberator there even faster. You know, he doesn't want to take the time to lift the starport. As soon as the starport finished, he said, boom, Liberator, let's get it over there to do the damage. Now, this Overlord is in position. This Overlord, if it wanted to, could easily swing in here and see this. Now, you're probably thinking, well, the Marine's there, it'll probably kill it. While that's true, if we had a better position on the Overlord, or even anything to scout this starport. And I honestly don't know if this Marine could do it. Do we have the lair done? No, we don't quite have the lair yet. But regardless, it's that 3:42 moment. I don't have the exact answer, but we need to see this starport. I think this is very, very vital. Because if we've seen this starport, a couple of things could have happened. First off, we could have canceled this Roach Warren, or we could have let it finish. I don't care. Probably best to cancel it, or wait until you have a better scout on what's happening in the Terran base. Because if we look at Vandy's vision right now, he has 0 information on the Terran. He doesn't have a clue what the Terran's doing, but has decided to go for roaches. So I don't necessarily like that he already has the Roach Warren down without any scouting information. Switch back over to the everyone cam here. But like I said, with the starport scouted and we can see that that Liberator is being built, we can transition into things like Ling Bane Muta. I'm going to show you why Ling Bane Muta is such a strong choice against this build. We're going to go ahead and keep going here until the 4 minute and 30 second mark, which is when this first Liberator is going to finish up. And I'll be able to show you some of the changes that Vandy could have made to really punish this Terran player. Because I think it's important to point out that this Terran player, when he goes for a build like this, if we pause at 4:30 when this Liberator pops out, we can see that he doesn't have a lot. We have 2 Hellions, 1 Siege Tank, and a handful of Marines. No, we don't even have Marines yet. Oh, never mind. We have 2 right here, and then there's the one over here, the one over here. So we have 3, 4, 5. I can't count. I didn't even see those, sneaky bastards. We have 5 Marines, a Liberator, a Siege Tank, and 2 Hellions. Versus a Zerg who's taking a 3rd base, and you're going to see he's going to continue to build drones. So the Terran is going to be very weak for the next a couple minutes here. It's not until 6 minutes the Terran really starts to ramp up. So the Zerg slowly building up the things that he needs to get what he needs done. He's going to start chasing off those Hellions. But alright, let's look right about here, about the 5-minute mark. So this is a minute before the Terran has anything really to defend besides these 2 siege tanks. Which, just a side note, the left side of this ramp cannot be sieged while there are siege tanks on this wall. It's not the Bane all, like the thing that's going to make you win the game, but it is important to note. If you had a very large push right now, a Roach Ravager all in, or a lot of Lings and Banelings, this could easily be destroyed right here, and then you could be ravaging this natural, and there's not a lot that the Terran could be doing about it. I think that around this time, the Terran player is very, very weak in his own base. So things like Ling and Baneling are going to be able to do a lot of damage. I know these siege tanks are in a position that are going to kill a lot of Lings and Banelings, but regardless, even a big Roach Ravager push off of 2 bases could have done a lot of damage here. That decision could have been made before the 3rd even went down if we scouted the starport building Liberators without an add-on. So, knowing all of that information now, let's continue here. And we're going to notice at about 6 minutes, this Terran is going to ramp up heavily. Like, to the point that Vandy is just not capable of keeping up. You're going to see he's throwing down even more barracks. Stim pack is on the way. And at that 6-minute mark, all of these buildings are going to be just about finished, and the supply of the Terran is going to start skyrocketing very quickly. We have 2 barracks with reactors pumping out Marines, 2 more barracks on the way. Stim pack's going to finish up, and at that point, it's going to be very hard for Vandy to do pretty much anything. You're going to see him try to go up this ramp right here, but unfortunately, those siege tanks are in a good position. But even still, if these Ravagers, if we had a couple Ravagers, we could have been poking at that supply depot with the use of this Overlord. And the Terran's going to take a 3rd base, take a really strong position. And this is where it's going to get very hard to kill the Terran. He's going to be pre-spread. He's got siege tanks set. Stim pack is finished. We have combat shield on the way and 1-1. Okay, so now Vandy is in a difficult position. If you look at his army composition, he doesn't have a lot. The Terran is already winning the army battle in upgrades, in supply as well. All thanks to the Liberators doing damage to these mineral lines. Now, how to deal with those Liberators is actually part of the Ling Bane Muta strat I am talking about. If you could have done some damage to this natural, or at least kept up a lot of pressure and prevented him from taking this base, Ling and Bane don't take a lot of gas, which means if this Spire was down a lot earlier, and we didn't have those roaches on the field, we'd have a lot more gas. And we could have Mutalisk on the field right now that could be dealing with those Liberators and protecting against the Liberators that are killing your drones off. I will say, though, that Mutas aren't going to be out in time for the first Liberator, potentially even the second Liberator, which is why you have to do damage with the Ling Baneling at that time when the Terran is very, very weak. And you're just going to have to dance the Spore Crawler around and just do as best you can to stop the economy, or stop the economy harassment as best you can. But regardless, I still think that there was a time there that we could have went in there and punched that Terran, and we could have done a lot of damage. You teched in a lot of different directions in this game because you weren't quite sure what to do. But I think if the vital moment, which if I want to go back really quick, which is at 3 minutes and 40 seconds, if you would have had this information, then this game would have been a lot different. I don't think Roach Ravager was a good choice for the composition you were going against. That Liberator right there, which means this Overlord right there. Even if he uses the Marine to try to kill the Overlord, he only has the one Marine on the field at that time. So I don't know. I think the Overlord... Can we take control of this really quick? Will the AI let me take control? Wait, no. I guess there's not. Anyways, if we could take control right now, I'd send that Overlord across the Marine, but I bet you could get it to the starport before the Marine killed it, and you could see that Liberator on the way, which could easily be an extra Queen at every hatchery. It could be an additional Spore, which I know is not necessarily what you're wanting to do with your drones, but it's this 340 Scout. This 340 Scout lets you know that roaches aren't going to be the way. Because as I said, we'll take a look at it one more time. At about 5 minutes, between 5 and 6 minutes, the Terran is insanely weak compared to what you could be. Like, we've got 2 siege tanks and 5 Marines. That is it. Compared to your third base. You know what I mean? So, hopefully I did what I could. Let's start over. Hopefully, I scouted out some info that'll be helpful to you, Vandy. This was a master level game, so it was a bit more difficult, but I think what I said was sound. So, Vandy, if you could get back with me, let me know what you think as a master level Zerg player, and everyone else, leave a comment. You know, tell me what you think Vandy could have done. In fact, I encourage it. Leave tips on what you think Vandy could have done to help win this game. I hope I did what I needed to do to improve your game, Vandy. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed it. If you guys want me to analyze your game or you want a game cast, send it to DarkslayerReplays@gmail.com and specify if you want to analyze or cast. Otherwise, I may just cast it or analyze it when you wanted it the other way around. That's DarkslayerReplays@gmail.com. It's in the description. I'll see you next time.